Smile. Okay. Go, Carmen. Thank you.
Yeah, like that.
Might have been the wrong person to ask, huh?
Thank you guys for coming to listen to my speech. I really appreciate it, and so does my grade. Thank you. So the speech that I'm giving today is for my communications class. It's to inform people about bipolar disorder, electroconvulsive shock therapy as a treatment, and my favorite person who has bipolar, which is Carrie Fisher, better known as Princess Leia for dorky people like me. So, do any of you know someone or have heard of bipolar disorder before?
Not really.
Yeah. So the Mental Health Research Association states that more than 2 million American adults, or about 1% of the population over the age of 18, is affected by bipolar disorder at one point in their life. This is a rather large chunk of people who are portrayed as being nut jobs and crazy and weird, typically by the media. The most that you hear about it, I don't know if you guys heard the news story about the airline attendant who went berserk on a flight, and they had to, in Austin, I believe it's Austin, Texas, they had to subdue her and put her somewhere until they landed. They had to do an emergency landing. Also, every time a celebrity has a little meltdown, they usually end up coming out with bipolar disorder as well. So there's a lot of negative connotation that goes with it, but there's also another side of it that is both positive and negative. But I myself am affected with bipolar disorder. I'm a type 2 bipolar disorder. And the thing that it does is it's also called a creative curse, is that a lot of people in history who are famous or artistic have been diagnosed as bipolar disorder. So it actually, and they don't know, there's no relationship in the causation. They don't know if you have bipolar because you are creative or if you are creative because you have bipolar. But some of the people who are famous that have come out as being bipolar have been diagnosed post-mortem are Carrie Fisher, who I'm going to talk about more, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Kurt Cobain, Marilyn Monroe, Vincent van Gogh, and Emily Dickinson. So there's a lot of people in the creative community who, people associate artists with being a little odd and weird, and turns out there's an actual diagnosis for being odd and weird. So, so what is bipolar disorder? Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder that basically you feel very intense emotions that don't correspond to pretty much anything going on in your life. So at any point you can get really mad or really sad, or it does odd stuff to your moods. Bipolar disorder 1 is kind of the one that everyone kind of associates things with, where you have swings where you'll be either manic or in a depressive state. So manic state, which is when a lot of artists are most creative and produce their most amount of work, you don't sleep, you have sort of this euphoric kind of, everything is so awesome, I love my life, I love you, I love shopping, I love everyone. Or you could be manic and be just completely irritable and grouchy and just, I want to kill everyone. So it's kind of you are up in your energy level, you're up as far as you don't sleep as much, you tend to have euphoric thoughts and be irrational in your thinking. A lot of times, like for me, I will go shopping with a very optimistic sense of my finances. I will go, I'll stay up more, I don't sleep as much, or, things like that. But with bipolar 2, the difference in that is that you're mostly in a depressed mode. You don't have the manic swings that go up as high as people who have bipolar 1, which is me, so I don't get the fun part of it. I get kind of the dumpy part. So bipolar disorder 2 and depressive states include wanting to sleep a lot, hating your life. It can lead to suicide. It can, a lot of times it will affect how you eat. You'll either eat more or more fattening things, or you won't eat because you're depressed. I am a depressed eater. I love to eat candy and all kinds of extra junk when I'm depressed. Also, bipolar, both sets of it is, they don't actually know what causes it or where it comes from exactly or why. It's kind of the, oh, we don't know what's wrong with you, so you probably have bipolar thing. But they think that it's genetic because it runs in families. For me, my dad is bipolar, and so is one of my sisters. So 3 out of 5 of my family is bipolar. So it makes for a very interesting household, especially because no one ever syncs up in their mood swings, which is really fun. As far as treatment for bipolar, there are a lot of medication options. The medication, as with any medication, is usually a good fit for most people. You can usually find something because there are so many medications out there to try. But there are side effects, as with pretty much all medications. So a lot of people, the side effects outweigh the benefits for them. So the kind of the end of the road for bipolar treatment is something that's been used since the 1500s, and that is electroconvulsive shock therapy, which is a very big mouthful. And so they call it ECT, which is what I'm going to call it so that I don't trip up over my words. It's been used since the 1500s to treat major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, acute psychosis, and people who are in a catatonic state. What happens is it used to be painful and used on patients who were very, like, seriously bad. And it was abused, and patients their treatment resulted in injury to them. They would either have a prolonged seizure, or they would break bones, or all kinds of nasty stuff would happen. So, modern medicine, well, mostly modern, so in the 40s and 50s they started using it to treat people, but they were developing new ways to make it more comfortable and less of a risk to patients. So what they do is you go in, they sedate you, and they give you medication to help you bring on a seizure. Then they hook you up to electrodes, which pass a very controlled amount of current through your brain, which kind of, from my understanding, basically resets sort of your chemical balance. So it's a controlled seizure. They don't know why it works. They have no idea why it works, but for patients who are not helped by medication, it really seems to help them. And Carrie Fisher is a big supporter of this treatment. Your treatments will vary based on the type of disorder you have, its severity, how many treatments, how you respond to the first treatment, of course. So usually it's something that's ongoing, that you go every couple months or couple weeks or whatever your provider decides. The UW actually has a clinic that does it. So it's something that's becoming more mainstream, and they use it for some, like epilepsy, things like that. They can do other things with it. So it's becoming, they're doing more research, and they're looking at it more as an actual option for treating really serious medical disorders. So, but they haven't been able to figure out why it works or how it works, so it's kind of a mystery as to why it works, but it does seem to work. The biggest problem is that people associate it with horror movies, because you see people being electrocuted or, being in an electric chair or things like that, but it's actually, they've come a really long way with it. It is an actual legitimate medical procedure now, and it's not going to harm you like it would back in the 1500s. So, my final thing that I want to talk about is Carrie Fisher. I'm a huge Carrie Fisher fan because, first of all, she's hilarious, and I find her incredibly entertaining. And I love Star Wars because I am a bitch. And she is a big spokesperson. She's actually Bipolar Woman of the Year at one time, and so along with being, the nerdy sex symbol of Princess Leia, she also is a really real person. She was raised by movie stars, and she grew up in this really weird, life, and she has managed to maintain her sense of self and her sense of humor, and she deals with having this disorder that makes you weird really well, and really with her sense of humor intact. And so some of the things that she says in her book, she writes books, so she's an author too. But the things that she says in her books really register with me, and I really appreciate them because I am the type of person that I like to have a sense of humor about everything. I mean, if you don't have a sense of humor about life, then everything becomes way too serious. So she has this amazing way of taking things that are in my head and thoughts that I have and making me feel like, oh yeah, I'm not a total freak, because she is too. So I've really grown to, really admire her, and I kind of keep some of her quotes in my head to make me feel better, especially when I'm having a bad day. So, and I want to share one of those quotes with you. So I'm quoting her out of her book, Shockaholic, because she also participates in electroshock therapy. She says, "If my life wasn't funny, it would just be true, and that's unacceptable," which I think is hilarious in itself, and I love that. So, in conclusion, 1 of every 100 people is affected at some point in their life by bipolar disorder. So some people have it and it goes away. Some people have it all the time. This also means that for the general public and all of you, that almost everyone knows someone or has been around someone who has bipolar. And I know all of you have because of me. So we're not complete psychos. We're not, we aren't people you see on the street talking to ourselves typically. We are normal people. We just tend to be a little bit odd, which is fine with me. I'm totally okay with it. For those of us who are afflicted, I feel like, the more you know, the better off you are. So I really think that a public, people being around it and seeing it and being more familiar with it can only help people who are afflicted with it, because it helps people to understand, oh, she's not just being a jerk, she's probably off the meds, or, something like that. Or she looks really freaked out right now, I wonder what's going on with her. It also, it helps people who have it to learn more about it, because then, I know that if I'm crying and it's I'm having a party and I'm crying and upset, it's probably for no reason. I'm probably fine, and I should just suck it up and get over it and move on with my life and stop being a crybaby. So that's kind of how I deal with it, but that's not how everyone does. So my thing is, if you know it and you can identify it, then you can fight it. So that's how I deal with mine. Also, if other people know it and know that you are fighting it, they can empathize with you and know what's going on with you and be like, oh yeah, that girl Lindsay, she's really weird, but you know what? She takes medication for it, so she's not as weird as she probably could be. She could be way weirder. We're all flawed. Human beings are all flawed. It's just a matter of making lemons from the genetic lemonade. No, backwards. Making lemonade from your genetic lemons. Yes. I was handed several lemons, one of which is bipolar genetic disorder. So, I'm making lemonade out of it and using it to get a good grade in class. So I'll leave you with my favorite Carrie Fisher quote, who is my favorite girl crush. "I feel I'm very sane about how crazy I am." Which I love. It totally explains, everything. So, thank you guys again for coming and listening to me. I really appreciate your time and taking time out of your lunch breaks. So, thank you
Yeah.
How did I do on time? Does anybody know how long?
13 minutes.
I doubled my time.
Well, you have to throw your comedian part in there too.
Well done.
Thank you.
Fill one out.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
She has more?
She gets extra credit in the more filled.
Thank you again.
I'm sorry, I don't know your
Oh,
full name.
Lindsay, sorry.
Do you have an extra one, Lindsay?
I didn't make enough copies.
Oh,
But
What you
I didn't
get
actually
maybe
get you in the video, but I'll get you one.
Yeah, next
Thank you.
time
Yeah.
bring one and I'll fill it out.
Thanks.
That was really
Good.
good.
Thank you. That's okay. I think I have 10.
Thank you so much.
Go for it.
That was awesome. I didn't have to work.
7.
So do that.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Okay.